Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to the Sandlot, the best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got hosed on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlot, former pro player and Major League scout, Ted Howard.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Todd Powers. The Sandlot is presented by Terramar Collective and sponsored by the Sandlot Radio Network, Crit Sports Collective, Guzman y Gomez, and Freestyle Pools Sydney. You can tune in to The Sandlot every weekend on SiriusXM Radio MLB Network podcast platform and on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Pandora, Apple Music, and Simplecast. The last show was the second of the new year, 2026, and we featured one of the best female baseball players in the world, a local product from the Cronulla Association. She played for the Comets Baseball Club. She was the 29th overall pick in the latest Women's Professional Baseball League draft, a pro league that will kick off in America in August of 2026. We had the good fortune of featuring Takara Geldenhays. We also had a silver medalist in the 2024 Olympics, a young man I've known since he was 11 years old. His son Cal is now playing college baseball in Texas. We had Gavin Finkelson. This week on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast, we have one of Australia's baseball greats. He pitched for my Sydney Wave team at the ripe old age of 17. He was a professional in the U.S. for 11 years, and he represented Australia many times and won a silver medal in an Olympics and a gold medal in an Intercontinental Cup. We have the Slugger. We have BK, Branden Kingman. We also have our Sandlot Radio Network resident baseball fanatic and producer, Nick Wright. We're going to give you an update on what's happening in MLB leading into spring training, the trades, the free agency, the acquisitions, and the crazy payrolls. We also have our Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast champion character of the week from our baseball camp at the Como Comets, Fox Johnstone, who is playing baseball for the first time for the Yarrawarrah Tigers. We're going to start you off talking about what's going on in MLB. Nick, it's been a while, but let's get everybody up to speed on what to expect in the 2026 Major League Baseball season.
Tad, it's great to be back. The MLB hot stove has been heating up this MLB offseason. Got to kick it off with Kyle Tucker signing a 4-year, $230 million deal with the Dodgers. He came from the Chicago Cubs and a longtime Houston Astros as well. And, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this because Kyle Tucker isn't he didn't light the world up last year. He hit 266, 73 ribbies, 22 homers. But the bigger thing is where Dodgers didn't really need him. Did they? I mean, they already have a pretty good outfield. I mean, of course, I kind of just feel like they're Thanos Infinity Stones and they're just taking from the MLB. So I'm curious what you think, Tad, of Kyle Tucker going to the Dodgers. Does this make them almost a surefire thing that could possibly repeat?
Well, I know he had down here. He had some injuries last year, but this is a guy that's 30-plus home runs, 30-plus stolen bases, and he's a plus defender in right field with a plus arm. He's going to throw guys out. He's going to make some plays that the last couple of years since Mookie's been playing short, our right fielders have not made. So the Dodgers made huge improvements when they signed Kyle Tucker. And, yeah, their luxury tax is $165 million. That's just what they're paying for their luxury tax for being above the payroll threshold. And $165 million, Nick, is a larger payroll than about 13 major league clubs. So the Dodgers are doing whatever it takes when it comes to spending money.
And Ted, you just mentioned those staggering numbers about how much money the Dodgers have over 12 or 13. That's almost half the league. They have just that money sitting alone. And Ted, I'm curious because a lot of MLB guys, media guys, writers are just arguing about if this is good for baseball because the ratings were up last year. The World Series had the best ratings in years. It was one of the best World Series in years. But is it going to come to a point where the Dodgers, even though they're not doing anything illegal, have they taken it too far of really dancing around the lines and, the impossible will lead to a salary cap in baseball and maybe even lead to a 2027 lockout?
The lockout could very well happen because there are a lot of teams that are disgruntled because they can't spend the money that the Dodgers can spend. But what the Dodgers are forcing is for all of baseball to go out and invest more into the game. So if you look at it from a big picture, I think it's a good thing for baseball if the other teams actually do start to catch up. But if they don't, then it is just this one team that can do it, punishing all the other teams by kicking their butt years on end.
Yeah, and I'm just curious if they three-peat. I really think that there is going to be a lockout unless they can somehow just manage it before. Because I just feel like baseball has been progressing so much over the years, and I think a lockout would just take them years back. Ted, let's move over. I do want to mention, speaking of your Cubs, Alex Bregman signs a 5-year deal with Chicago after being with only 1 year in Boston, longtime Houston Astro. Last year he hit 273, 18 homers, 62 ribbies. Tad, are you happy about Bregman going to the Cubs?
For the Cubs, I'm very happy. I think it's a great thing, and I think that the Red Sox, you stuck with him, went with the offer, beat the offer the Cubs had to try to keep him around because they're a better team with him than they are without him. And now that he's gone, the Cubs are stronger and the Red Sox are weaker.
And that's such an odd decision to let Bregman go because the Red Sox let go of Devers, third baseman, and they get Bregman, fill that hole, and then they get rid of Bregman. Just very, very odd to me. Tad, let's go to New York where Cody Bellinger agreed to stay with the Yankees in a 5-year, $162.5 million deal. Tad, do you think this is a smart move for the Yankees? As Garrett Cole's coming back next year. Do you think that the Yankees will be back next year? It's a good signing.
I think it's a great signing. I don't know about 5 years, but I think the ballpark is really good for Cody. And he's a kind of guy that can have MVP seasons, and you put him in a ballpark like Yankee Stadium for the whole year, he could put up MVP numbers again. Now, the long-termness of it, I was thinking 1 or 2 years because I don't know how much he's got left in the tank to be that level.
And Tad, let's go to Bo Bichette. Longtime shortstop of the Toronto Blue Jays signed a 3-year contract with the New York Mets. Last year he hit .311, 18 homers, 95 ribbies. Tad, I think it's a great pickup for New York Mets.
I don't think he's going to be playing shortstop, but man, they'll be tough up the middle, and now they got a strong bat at second base to go along with Lindor. Yeah, I'd say for the Mets it's a great thing. After losing the Bear over there at first base, they needed to do something to pick up their offensive numbers.
And Tad, one more quick one. Freddie Peralta traded from the Milwaukee Brewers. Speaking of the Mets, Freddie Peralta traded from the Brewers to the New York Mets. Last season he had a 2.70 ERA. Again, Mets bolstering the roster.
They needed it. With the amount of money that the Mets are spending, they need to win. So this is a year that they better win, or there's going to be some heads rolling in New York.
Well, Tad, the stove has been heating up. I know we're going to hear a lot more up until spring training and beyond, which, Ted, is a little bit less than a month away. Can you believe it? February 20th is when spring training begins. Baseball is coming soon.
And over here in Australia, the Australian Baseball League playoffs are happening this weekend, and it's the Sydney Blue Sox versus the Adelaide Giants. So Sydney's finally in a grand final is what they call it over here. And I had a chance to do a little color commentating last weekend when the Sydney Blue Sox played the Brisbane Bandits. I did the color for that game.
Love it. And I will be texting you about score updates, Dad. So make sure you do that.
All right, Nick. Thanks a lot. Guys, can't wait for spring training. We have our Sandlot Champion Character of the Week on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. He's Fox Johnstone. Fox James Johnstone, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thank you.
Now, you love this game of baseball, and why is that? Tell me why you chose baseball over all the other sports.
Because I was watching YouTube and I found Bat Bros and I watched it and I was like, this game looks very fun.
And turns out you got some pretty good skills. And at camp this week at Chenally, at the Como Comics baseball camp, we're here with the Sandlot. What have you learned about baseball that's helping you become a better player?
My sliding and my leads and definitely my throwing. I've learned how to throw a lot farther.
All right, and what about Major League teams? What are the ones that you like the most?
The Yankees and the Dodgers.
And the Yankees and the Dodgers, pretty good picks. Any players on those two teams that you really like and you look up to and you say, man, I want to be like that guy one day?
Aaron Judge and Ohtani.
Okay, those guys are really good players. They win MVPs in the National League and the American League. They're about as good of players as there's ever been. So what is it else that you love about this game of baseball?
That you get to really choose the plays and you can hit wherever you want, but like you need to choose a good spot to hit the ball and stuff.
He's our Sandlot Champion Character of the Week on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under broadcast. He's Fox Johnstone, Fox James Johnstone. Thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot. Don't go away. When we return to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast, we have Australian baseball great Branden Kingman. The Sandlot is where everybody plays. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by Terramar Collective.
We're at the Sandlot Baseball Camp in Denali, New South Wales, Australia. At the Cosmo Comets Baseball Club. And we love baseball. And we listen to the Sandlot.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG. Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective. When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball, the man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque.
Especially Shohei, Mookie, and the Judge. We're with Branden Kingman. Branden, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast.
Awesome, mate. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
I got to turn back the clock for you to the time when you're 6 years old and somebody said, hey, man, you want to play some T-ball? And you stood up there the very first time, and you're probably bigger than most of the other kids, I'm guessing. And you had the ability, before ever really playing, to just look at it, see it, and hit it far enough to get a home run the first at-bat. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was. I think it was my brother's time. I only had the one game. It was just to fill in. So he was playing a couple of levels up, and I never played. And I grew up playing tennis and Aussie rules, but I filled in one day and just hit the Living the Daylights out one, and got brought into the game by like everyone else. Dad played for 1,000 years. We just sort of followed that. But I played tennis and Aussie rules up until I was 13, I think. And then baseball basically took over from under 11s right through.
So you represented New South Wales and at Australia at every level possible, from what I think is correct.
Yeah. So when I first came through, unlike some of the older guys, played in under 13 New South Wales teams, there was only under 16s and under 18s. So my first year under 16s, I played in Glen Waverley in Melbourne. Second year 16s was in Glenelg, South Australia. from those two tournaments, I made what they called an under-19 development squad, Australian development squad. The first year was over in Perth at Perry Field. We had two Australian teams, the green team and the gold team. And we play against, I think there was two American teams that came out and just play a week-long thing over there. But it was a development series, development team. Then under 18s, made the New South Wales team. We played in Canberra. And then the next year, which was quite bizarre, where the ABF split and we had two national tournaments. So we played up in Brisbane. So there was two New South Wales teams, a white team, New South Wales white, New South Wales blue. There was two Queensland teams. I think it was Colts and Cubs. Northern Territory, New South Wales country, and I think there was a Queensland country. And then they had another tournament, Victorian country, Tassie, South Australia, WA, all playing separate. Both those years I made the under-19 Australian team, so that was my first full-on Australian representation.
So this is a thing that's really cool. I talked to Casso about this and Murph and some of the other. I even talked to Tony Adamson over in Perth about this. When you make these teams when you're a young kid, for the first time maybe in your life, you're going to go explore these other states. And you just mentioned you went. You're from New South Wales. You're probably not getting everywhere. All of a sudden, you mentioned South Australia. You mentioned Western Australia. You mentioned Queensland. You mentioned the ACT. And these are all when you're a young kid. You get to go on these trips and get to see these cool places around Australia that I have been fortunate enough to see, but a lot of the Aussies don't go see. So I think that is a really cool part about representing your state and then eventually your country, because then you get to go see some other countries.
Yeah, so the first 2 years with 16s, you get billeted out with families. So that's an experience in themselves. As a 14 and 15-year-old, you go to another state, yeah, fantastic, but you're going to live with another family, so you're not at home or with the rest of the team. I think my first year I was in a house there was just two of us players, and then the next guys were, like 10 minutes away, but we'd all have to get to the field. So baseball gave me especially, and gives everyone the opportunity to travel interstate and then overseas in the end. So, the places I've been, the people I've met, friendships I've gained just from playing a game of baseball is, quite unbelievable.
That's probably one of the coolest things about it. And when we get older, the thing that we appreciate the most, because we kind of take it for granted as we're doing it. But man, it is super cool to be able to do all that stuff and having baseball be the road that takes us there. I've got to go so many places around the world that I never would have went if it weren't for this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's not just within Australia, taking me overseas, and not many people say they've ever been across the ditch anywhere, any sort of ocean. But, and I didn't have to pay I had to pay for some of it, but a lot towards the end, and then it was all paid for and free trips to go see other countries, go see other cultures, other people. It was, and the relationships I've gained, not just in Australia, but overseas, and with the likes of Facebook and whatnot, you still have that ability now to be in contact.
So you're 17 years old when Brian Murphy tells me about this. You got to see this young Branden Kingman kid. He can really throw. And at the time, my Sydney Wave team, I can't say that we had some gun pitching staff. I just can't say that. So I was looking for anything and everything. And I watched you throw one pen, and I'm like, yeah, he's on this roster. And we just threw you out there, and you were closing games at 17 and doing really well. And I just remember how calm you were for someone. Everyone told me, oh, he's only 17, blah, 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 you can't do. Yes, you can. Watch him. And I just remember how composed you seemed at that age. And to be honest, you seemed more like a 30-year-old when you were 17 to me.
Well, the body felt like a 30-year-old, but get instilled into us as kids, to respect anyone and everyone. So, it wasn't that we were the best at anything. We had to work hard to get to where we were. And, you get the chance to meet some guys who have played at a high level for such a long time, when you have respect for, and then to be able to put the same uniform on and go out there, especially as because technically I was still a junior, until after you get out of 18, just as a junior. So to be given the opportunity by yourself and to play with the Wave. I still remember a game, I think it was in Adelaide, I think Brian Murphy and Matty Everingham missed the flight to Adelaide because they worked, but they met us in South Australia. I think he put me into right field, and it's one of the worst places to ever play on Norwood Oval.
Yes.
Especially with the lights there and the sun. And I think I took the first fly ball was a line drive off the kneecap. I still remember that to this day.
Well, you know, that's how you learn, is to get put in the situations where you're either going to succeed or fail. And the game is a game of failure, and how we deal with those failures and how we move on past them. What we learn from failures is how we improve and get better. And in 92, you were at the point where major league clubs want to sign you, and the Marlins do. And now we're talking about a 17-year-old kid that's going to run over to America now and compete against the whole world, because the Marlins were very international at that time. They had a lot of Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans. They had kids from Canada. They had Australians. And of course, they had Americans. So you're thrown into the mix of that. And I remember my first spring training. There's 180 guys, and you're just one of them. Let's talk about that trip, that very first time you went over there, and what your eyes saw, and what kind of an eye-opening experience it was for an Aussie, like a fish out of water over there playing pro ball.
Yeah, so it was a very different experience. I mean, I'd spoken to guys that have gone over to spring training and all that sort of stuff. My experience was totally different to all that, being that it was the Florida Marlins' very first year, 92, and all we had was two teams. So I went over in June, so it was basically for the draft, you know, go into extended spring training, or the camp before extended, and we had enough for a rookie ball team and a short A team. And we went to, I think it was Bucky Dent's school, Delwood in Florida, where we had our makeshift spring training. And we went through that, and I ended up being on the rookie ball team, as they call the Gulf Roast League. And we played that first season at Kissimmee, which was sharing the Houston Astros spring training facility, because the Marlins didn't have one. We didn't have one. So I played that first year there, which ended up being very surreal in the fact that I was asked with three other guys to go model the uniforms for the big league team down at Fort Lauderdale. So we missed the game, got on a van, travelled down to Fort Lauderdale, straight into Joe Robbie Stadium, and then they gave us uniforms to wear and model. And that was the unveiling of the Florida Marlins kit for the following season, which would be the very first major league season of the Florida Marlins. So it was funny. I had a mate, Gary Wells, you know Gary very well, sent me a message. He said, I saw this on TV, and it was myself in number 7, cut-off sleeves, home uniform, doing modelling at the age of, I think I was 8 or so. That was very different in itself, being that there was only 2 teams that year, and then 93 went back to a full spring training with every other level, including the big leagues.
And that year, that's when you really get a feel, because you have all these other levels ahead of you. And those guys, you really get to see that they are more advanced, and that they can really play. And a lot of things that the younger guys are struggling with, they make those things look easy. And didn't you realize why they're ahead of you, right? And at your age, what you're fortunate of, you started at such a young age that you got time to figure it all out. And I always tell people, you need about 1,000 at bats with a wood bat to know if you're ever going to be able to hit at the major league level. It's hard to project at a guy, oh yeah, he's going to hit 280 in the big leagues. Well, let's give him 1,000 at bats with a wood bat against pro pitchers. Then I'll be able to tell that. Until then, it's a crapshoot with everyone.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, at 92, got spring training. It was the first time I'd used a wooden bat, because, I mean, we were using metal back then here with the wave and whatnot in the ABL. So 2 weeks of makeshift spring training, and then going into my first rookie ball season was a big eye-opener for me, to know how I go about potentially moving and getting better. We had a young shortstop at the time, and by the name of Edgar Renteria. So he went on to have an incredible career, and he was the youngest on our team. But yeah, just to try and that switch of going from metal to wood. And a lot of people these days go, "Oh, it's not that hard." Well, it's not easy. It's a very different way of hitting for any level, and basically made or broke. Whoever it was that, could move forward.
We're with Baseball Australia Hall of Famer. He's a silver medalist in the Olympics. He's a gold medalist in the Intercontinental Cup. He's a long-term minor league professional. He's Branden Kingman. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go away. We got more from the Slugger when we return to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. The Sandlot is presented by Terramar Collective. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Hello everyone, this is Tony Adamson from Perth, Western Australia. I listen to the Sandlot. I'm a baseballer, Hall of Fame member in the Australian Baseball Federation, West Australian Baseball Hall of Fame, and also the West Australian Sporting Hall of Champions. Happy to be on and I've really enjoyed it. Thanks, Ted.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG.
Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
Hey everybody, this is Trevor Hoffman, a Hall of Famer and a San Diego Padre, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
We're back with BK, Branden Kingman, on the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Tad Powers. Branden, thanks so much for sticking around.
I copped a lot of flack from that, and I'm like, well, there's a good chance he can come here, so you might want to watch it, boys, because this kid can play. And then, so Glenn Roos is in that second year. Then I think Aaron Harvey from Melbourne, Justin Charles, who played in the AFL here, he played a couple of years. Then after I was released in 96, that's when I think it was Ronneberg come over, and then he signed with the Marlins.
And was Diebel coaching in the organization at that time?
He was, yeah. I think it was 94 and 94, 95 and 96, somewhere about there he started.
And that doesn't hurt when that guy's over there learning from the best, and then he's going to come back and be the Australian coach. You know, he's going to basically share that same information. You guys are going to train the same way. One thing that really bothers me is there's a way of taking BP, and there's a process where you can get a lot of work done during batting practice. You got your igloo, you got your protective screens, you got fungo guys, you got base runners, and we can really get a lot of work done. I hate to see when a training is not run that way. And especially when clubs have those tools, yet they're not running the practice in that manner. And once you've done that, it's hard to witness a practice being run that's not happening.
No, and that's exactly right. 95, I learned one of the biggest things I ever learned in baseball was the year they come back from the strike. The Major League spring training started a little bit late. So I was in Brevard County playing in the Florida State League. So basically my morning would be I'd get up, go down to the field, catch bullpens, and then once they were all done, I'd go back, get ready for our game that night, afternoon hit BP. And then so I'd spend pretty much all day on the field. And I learnt from one of the best hitters I ever saw was in Gary Sheffield. And we had a couple of chats out in right field during BP after I caught my pens, and he's come out and we'll have a chat. But the way he went about his BP was so structured that every round he had a goal of what he was going to do. It wasn't just get up there, swing the hell out of it and go. So it was, stay behind the runner, then line drives, And then it was, oh, yeah, now I'm going to hit off right center, left center off the wall. And it was like, he had it on a dial. It was just unbelievable. He would say what he was going to do and then do it. And then his last couple of rounds was just let it fly. But he was so structured in the early part of his routine that I'm going to work on this. This is what I do day in, day out, and keep following that process. And I took that on board myself because once I tried to pull the ball, I'd up a bit, but I was more of a gap-to-gap hitter. So I learned from that, okay, it doesn't, I can hit the ball out the right field. It's the same as hitting the ball out the left field. So everyone, we got that structure down. So it was just every day doing the same thing, but being structured, having a plan and following it.
And then when a game comes up,
you got guys now.
BK, then in the game, when that situation comes up and the runner's on second and there's no out, you automatically think about driving a ball to the right side of the field. And you're even thinking about you're maybe going to get an out here. You're going to give yourself up. But then you do that. You hit a fly ball to right field and the guy tags and goes to third. And you come into the dugout and everybody's high-fiving you. And people that don't understand the game don't get it. He's like, wait a minute, you're out. No, I just got that runner to third, and now there's only one out, and he's 90 feet from scoring a run. That's situational hitting. I get a plus in that situation.
Yeah, and again, you're playing a team sport. It's not a solo sport, but, you give yourself up at times to make it better for your team. Yeah, you want to look at your stats and all that, but to move up the ranks or the levels that you have, coaches and organisations and people look at that sort of thing that know the game rather than someone sitting up in the stands having a few beers yelling out, oh, he didn't get a hit or he swung at a bad pitch. Well, it was a hit and run. I've got to swing at it. So, people see that. And one thing that I got out of and I was spoken to about by the front office, especially with the Marlins, is that the work ethic that Australians have over other players in the world is second to none. It's basically hard-nosed, get on the dirt, diving for balls, going full out for everything all the time, not just taking it for granted that I'm just going to breeze through and get myself to the big leagues and then make a lot of money and live happily ever after. It was never like that for, I don't think, any Australians.
You mentioned Edgar Renteria. You mentioned Gary Sheffield. I know you played with Kevin Lamar. I know that at some point in the league, Homer Bush and Greg Jelks were big leaguers alongside of you. So who are some of the other guys in the minor leagues and throughout international baseball that you played with and against?
So my first couple of years, in 94, I was playing in Kane County in the Midwest League. With the Marlins, and Kevin Millar was on that team. We platooned between each other at first base, but we had, I think, 10 or 11 guys off that team make it to the big leagues at some stage. We had a guy that was on that team who was a manager, Mike Redmond. He was our catcher. And we had that many other guys. There was 10 or 11 guys off that team that made it to the big leagues, which, you might get maybe one or two off a team here and there. But we had 10 on that team alone. And in that league, I think Mike Sweeney was with the Royals. Alex Rodriguez was with the Mariners at that time in Appleton, Wisconsin. So Appleton Foxes, I think they were called before they changed their name. So, I played against Scott Rowland, Hall of Famer. Played against him in 95. There was another guy, Dave Roberts. I played against him. So he was on the opposition all-star team in 95 in the Florida State League. And I only found out that a couple of weeks ago, I found my program, which had him in it. So it was, awesome. But, and some of the guys that have come out here, not just, the imported players playing the big leagues, but the Australian guys as well.
Exactly. And, when you look at some of the teams you played on, you start out in Florida. That's pretty similar to the United States, but there's a lot of diversity in terms of the people that live there. But the weather and, there's palm trees and there's ocean and all that. But then you go to the Midwest League. The Midwest is way different than anything in Australia. And then you go to the Cal League, and that's way different too. Let's talk about some of the diversity in the cultures as you travel around America as a minor league player. And it takes you to some really funky minor league towns that even Americans don't go to these towns.
Yeah, no, especially in the Midwest League, that was one of the most bizarre places I've ever been to. I mean, I think one of the towns that sticks to me the most was Burlington, Iowa, and I believe that's where Brian Murphy played when he was over there. But when we were there, it was like no one around, and all of a sudden a whole bunch of people would turn up to the games, and you're like, where do these people come from? Clinton, Iowa, it's Rockford, and some of these towns, and because no one knew who you were, and the worst thing for you to say is I'm a professional baseball player, because then people start to, this guy's got money. Well, I'm playing A-ball. I'm only getting $850 or $975 a month, so I don't have any money. Trust me. But it took us to towns that I would not have ever dreamed of going to, and I'm from Australia, but even guys that were on our teams, some guys that lived in New York, Pennsylvania, had never been to the Midwest. And it's not, I mean, for me, being, on the other side of the world, to be able to go over there and experience not just going overseas, but cultures of different states. And, you can go from the Midwest down to the South, up to the Northeast, Northwest. Everyone's different. So it's, trying to experience that over the years was fantastic.
And teammates, too. You'd have teammates from all over, like I said, the Asian countries, of course, the Latin American countries, but then different parts of the U.S., because you got your country boys. A lot of southern rednecky guys play baseball, but then you also got some, up northeast guys, and their accents completely different. Midwest guys are different, and then you got the laid-back West Coast guys. So, yeah, the cultures that you deal with on a team, way different, because when you're on an Aussie team, everybody's kind of the same.
Yeah, that's right. And, we got pulled over in the Midwest we got home late from a road trip, and it was a commute road trip. And the guy that owned the car, my roommate, was Californian. He's got Californian plates. The passenger in the back seat, Dave Berg, he ended up playing the big leagues. He was from Sacramento. And here I am from Australia in the passenger seat, and we get pulled over by the police. And they said, listen, we pulled you over because you got Cal plates on. And they couldn't even work out where I was from. I had to try to explain over to Californians in Illinois to say what we were doing, because they just couldn't understand. And they were like, where are you from? You from down south? Yeah, a little bit. So, you're not from around here. No, I'm not from around here. Neither of us are from around here. But, so every state was different. But a lot of places, especially our hometowns, were very accommodating for us. I could say that.
We're going to take another quick break. Don't go away. We have more from BK, Branden Kingman, when we return to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Hey, this is Mark Dollymore here, representative of Cronulla Baseball back in the day. Proud member to be on the Sandlot Baseball show today. I hope you enjoyed what you heard and just live on it. Keep going on, keep trying hard. All the best.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG.
Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.
It was pretty much decided for me to play baseball when I was born.
The Sandlot's where it all starts, doesn't it?
I wasn't big enough, but I just threw harder.
It doesn't take any talent to hustle.
If you don't pull for the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven.
Something happening here.
Branden, you played in the minor leagues. You did that whole thing through the Marlins. And then there's this thing that happens. It happens to everyone. You get released, and it's like, oh, God, what happened? I thought I was doing good. I'm knocking on the door. I feel like I can take somebody's spot that's above me. And then we all get that. But then, luckily for you, the ABL was thriving at that time. And you had a chance to come back and use everything you learned in pro ball and go back to the ABL and play with the short porch in right field and hit 26 home runs a season. So let's talk about those years in the ABL where you dominated, man. It was just crazy. You won a triple crown. That's never been done in the ABL. It's only been done once, and you did it. Let's talk about what that was like. And you were a different hitter when you came back.
Yeah, so, I went through 96 of spring training, got released on the very last day. And it just happened to be the 1st of April. So I thought it was an April Fool's joke. But it wasn't. So I was on the next flight out that next morning. I was pretty devastated at the time. Come back to Australia. We played the 96-97 season. I went back to using metal, which we were still using metal in the ABL. Had a fairly good year. I think I hit 325 that year, thereabouts. But the following year was where it all sort of worked out. So 97, I ended up having shoulder surgery in September 97. Was a little late getting back for the 97-98 season. So I think I missed the first series or two. We were playing out at Concord Oval, where everything just changed. I couldn't miss. I think I ended up hitting 487. My slugging was 1.08, or something like that. As you said, triple crown. But it changed my attitude of playing the game that, you can't take anything for granted. Not that I did, but it was instilled more into me. Don't take anything for granted. You're just a number. You got to stand out. And bottom line was I was having more fun. When you're having fun playing, and again, it's a game. So when you're having fun, you do so much better. Whether or not you do fail or not, you're still having fun, which in turn, that whole season, everything happened that year. So I went through all that, got accused of using a defective bat. End up, unfortunately, I hit a ball off one of the pitcher's heads and he nearly passed away, but he went through and had surgery and whatnot, and he came out fine. But that was instilled in me, just going, wow, it can be taken away from you, so take it now and run with it while you can. Which in 98, I got the opportunity to go back to spring training with Seattle. So, the hard work over those two seasons back here in Australia gave myself that opportunity to go back and have a second crack at it.
And having that second attempt is awesome because you learn so much. And like you said, now you go to spring training, know what to expect. The first time, second time, third time, we're still kind of figuring it out. But now you've been enough where you're pretty comfortable in spring training. You don't put as much pressure on yourself. You can have fun. You're playing loose, but you're being aggressive. And I noticed the difference too. Your aggression at the plate changed to where it was scary to pitch to you, and I didn't like it. So I just tried to avoid pitching to you, but I had to, I remember I had to go after you a couple times, and it wasn't the best for me. But again, man, it's a different thing when you get that aluminum back in your hands. And now, knowing that I have that, I can just start swinging it. And I just used to swing hard, dude. That's why they called you the Slugger.
So, one thing too, going back to metal, it made me speed up my hands rather than that long swing, using a wooden bat. You speed up your hands and, you can get away with things being a bigger, sweeter spot, but it made me, speed up my hands, trust it a bit more, and then work out what was best for me. So I got back to spring training in 98, not knowing where I was going to go. I didn't have a visa at that stage. They brought in some Japanese clubs to take video and send back over there. I made my club the A-ball team in the Cal League on the last day of spring training. So I had to miss the first week of the season while they were getting my visa fixed up. And then I went on to win the batting title that year in that league. So, it just kept going from the season here, and I just kept the same approach and try to have as much fun as I possibly could along the way.
And at that time, too, now the Australian team is going into these. We got Intercontinental Cup and we have Olympics. And the Olympics is going to be in your country. So this is a time when you and the other Aussie players had huge opportunities. Let's talk about those opportunities and what it snowballed into for you guys. Because silver medals are not easy to come by.
Yeah, well, 2000 was a big year for all of us in Australia. We've got the Olympics in our own country, my own hometown. I went to spring training after having surgery on my wrist. I got told I was going to start in AAA, but because I had the surgery, we'll start you in AA. I was like, yeah, that's fine, and then we'll work your way up. Unfortunately, 11 games into the season, I broke my arm. So it sort of put a dampener on it. Coming out of November 99 of winning the gold medal in the Intercontinental Cup to being on the 40-man and then 11 games into the season broke my arm, which then threw everything, a spinner in the works of, can I make the Olympic team? I did everything I possibly could, went to a team in the upstate New York in Catskill Mountain to do everything, which we had a whole bunch of Australians playing in that, getting ready for the Olympics. Adam Burton was there, Gavin Fingleson was there, Ron Johnson was there, Ben Harding, all these guys trying to get ready by playing in an independent league. I got released in June, went and tried to play in that, got another 11 games under my belt, and we were stoked. We had all Australian players that were available, all wanting to play in the Olympics in our own country. So, after 99 IC Cup winning that, we had a role on that. Maybe Australia, we can compete with the rest of the world. We won I think 97 IC Cup, we won a bronze medal. It was the first one. 99, we won a gold medal against Cuba. 2000, we've got our opportunity now in the Olympics to move forward. Unfortunately, I didn't make that team because of the rules at the time. And then it was basically for me, make every Australian team I possibly could from there on because, you don't know when it's going to stop, and injuries can do it, performance can do it, who knows, but 2001 made the World Cup team, 2003 I think the same, and then 2004 we all know what happened there with the Olympics and exceeded everyone's expectations.
Winning a silver medal, that's huge, but the gold medal, I was there, and I got to tell people that Branden Kingman in that gold medal game against Cuba hits a double. They pinch run for you because at the time you weren't exactly getting around the bases that well, but they wanted your bat in the lineup. So, and then the guy that came in to run for you scores the winning run for you to win that gold medal. I was there. I saw that.
Yeah, so I hit the double. Ben Harding came in to pinch run for me, and he scored, which basically that tied the game up. Then we went to and then Gary White knocked in that winning run. But, I wasn't going to say, I wanted to say no, I didn't want to come out. But in the context of it, you're going to always put a faster runner in to try to level a game, win a game, whatever it is. And, I was, at that time, I was so just happy to be playing because I was getting a shot in my wrist because of the pain that I was having, which ended up having the surgery, 3 weeks after that tournament. So, it was 4 weeks, I think it was. So, you do whatever you can to play.
Well, and then 2004, the Olympics. What a team you guys had. And you didn't quite figure it out in the 2000 Olympics, but Deebs learned some things. I think he became a better manager. He managed the team better. You guys learned a lot. And that second go around, you were more prepared. And what a team. And you think about some of those guys. I know all those guys, and you guys are all still great mates because how many people can say, hey, by the way, me and these guys won a silver medal together in the Olympics?
100%. We went into that tournament with the mindset of we're doing everything as a team. Don't care what anyone else does. We're doing everything as a team. So if we've got a recovery session or we're going to do this, we'll do it as a team. We're going to go do it all together. It's time to party afterwards, but during the tournament itself, we did everything together. Everyone had each other's back. You could not say anything negative about anyone within that period of time. I think we met some of the guys who went over and we were in Arizona for a week or so, and then met the rest of the guys coming out of minor league baseball or major leagues to come over and play and meet us over in Athens. But we did everything possible together as a team. No individuals. Didn't matter who you were. I mean, we had the likes on that team who played in the big leagues of Dave Nielsen, Graham Lloyd, won World Series rings with the Yankees, Jeff Williams, Willow, guys that have played in the big league that now have come back to give back and play for Australia in the Olympics, which is, I mean, it's not for the pinnacle for some people. Some people, the pinnacle is to get to the major leagues, but for, I guess, pretty much every Australian is to play for your country at the highest level.
And that's coming up again to 2028 in LA. So, and then 2032, it's in Brisbane. So there's some young Aussies that should be setting their sights high about that Aussie national team and that green and gold being in the Olympics and trying to win a medal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these guys now have got something to aspire to rather than losing some kids to different sports. Baseball's back in the Olympics now. Want to play for your country, want to be at the top of the level. And like I said, it gives us something to aspire to. And it's good that you've got guys giving back in whatever shape or form it is to try and get these kids to get better. We've got programs in each state, the winter programs and all that sort of stuff that gets these kids understanding what a professional setup can be like. This is what you've got to look forward to. And again, they'll make or break some kids. They'll go, no, that's too hard. Well, you find out the good ones. You find out those gems, and then you work with them. They work hard, and the mindset is fantastic, rather than that being that the God-given right to be able to do something. You've got to work for it. Have the respect of people before and the game, just as the jersey you're wearing. Have that respect for it to get better.
And we just had Travis Bazzana go as the number one overall pick in the MLB draft, and that's a huge catalyst for Australian baseball. Little League Baseball, I think, has also put Australia on the world stage, and kids now want to play that game because they see their mates on TV. So I think more numbers are going to continue to grow. And, we've been on a roller coaster ride. Baseball goes up, it comes down, it goes up. I think it's on an upswing right now, Branden, and I think there's some things that can really give it that boost. And if Travis gets to big leagues and becomes an everyday major league player, that's going to be one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it gives the kids now to go, well, if he can do it, why can't I? We've had guys go high in the draft with basketball. Now we've got the guy first round, number one pick in baseball. Doesn't have to be an American. Everyone says, baseball is an American sport. No, it's not. It is a world sport where all can be the best in what we do. That gives them the opportunity to say, listen, if he can do it, why can't I?
And Travis obviously did a lot of work. I always tell people it's what you do when nobody's watching. I wish somebody had a video of all the times Travis went out and did a bunch of stuff when nobody knew it but him, and he was busting it and working on sprints and box jumps and throwing a medicine ball and never stopping. And I wish that people would know how many hours went into that, because they think that he just woke up great. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, and that's right. I mean, you've got to work hard to get for wherever you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life. You got to work hard to get to the higher level. And whether or not you get an opportunity to sign professionally and play minor league or get to the major leagues, there's still other programs. You can go back and go to college, do all that sort of stuff. Get education as well as being able to play a sport that you love. There is an opportunity in the independent leagues. There's always opportunity. There's leagues all around the world: Taiwan, Japan, the Netherlands, Germany. All these places have places to play, and you've got that opportunity to do it. So it's not all the end all that you don't get signed and play professional baseball. You got another avenue somewhere else, of being able to play a sport and potentially get paid for it for something you love.
He's Branden Kingman. He's a Baseball Australia Hall of Famer. I believe that you've represented Australia for longer than anyone else in history. I read that, and I think it's a 20-plus year period of representing your country at the highest level. Is that correct?
I didn't know that.
I did.
I didn't know that. I mean, I made my first Australian team, I think, in 92, and then had to pull out because I signed professionally. And back then, you had to be an amateur to play for Australia. So my next opportunity was I think we had a team. We went for the first ever professional team to Japan in '95, November of '95, and we had the likes of Lloydie was playing, Dave Nielsen, Craig Shipley was on it. Every person that was a professional player that hasn't been able to represent their country since signing had that opportunity. Then '96 Olympics came. Still amateur. '97, they changed the rules to professional. So that was basically from there on, be able to do whatever I can. I always wanted to play at the highest level. If I could, I'd still do it now. But I stopped playing at the age of 50 in first grade with Petersham, and the only reason I did is because I had a knee replacement 2 weeks after the last game. So I wish I could still do it.
Well, I got to say that I was 38 the last time that I faced you. You probably would have been, I don't know, let me think, 32 maybe. And I made not a very good pitch. I made a pitch that you should hit over the fence, and you did. And it was the 8th inning. I pitched 7 pretty good innings, but I was running out of juice, and I made a bad pitch to Branden. He hit it straight out center field at Blacktown, and that was it for me. I walked off.
It's like I said. I always said, even when I got questioned about making the Australian Hall of Fame, when are you going to stop? And I said, well, the time I stop is when I'm in a wheelchair. So not quite in a wheelchair, but I end up having the knee replacement. But I just because I love the game so much, it's not. I want to be the best. I'm still having fun, and while I'm doing it, I'm trying to mentor the other guys, the younger guys on the team. If I can still do it at my age, why can't you do it at 25 or anything like that? So, for the love of the game, they talk about it. I made a movie about it. So that's what it is.
He's Branden Kingman. I was fortunate enough to have him on my roster with the Sydney Wave way back when he was 17. He's now in the Baseball Australia Hall of Fame, the ABL Hall of Fame. He got some records in the ABL. Played in that league for a long time. You've done it for Australia for a long time. Won a batting title in the Cal League. If you look at Cal League batting titles, there's guys like Mike Piazza on that list. There's guys on that list that were really good major league players. You win a Cal League batting title, that's kind of like saying you can hit at any level.
And unfortunately, an injury ended my career. So, that's happened to a lot of people. So I got a couple more years after I broke my arm in independent ball, and then it was basically time to. I wasn't going to get picked up again, so time to shut that down and start another part of my life. But baseball has always been there, and has always.
He's BK. Thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast. I'd like to thank today's guests on the Sandlot. It was an honor to have Australian baseball great, the Slugger, BK, Branden Kingman, plus our Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast champion character of the week, Fox James Johnstone. What a great kid with a big league name and one to watch and listen for in the future. I'd also like to thank our Sandlot Radio Network resident baseball fanatic and producer, Nick Wright, for giving us an update on what to expect in the upcoming MLB season. Remember, you can listen to the Sandlot Radio Network Down Under podcast every weekend on SiriusXM Radio MLB Network podcast platform and on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Pandora, Apple Music, and Simplecast. Please explore the Sandlot Radio Network Facebook and Instagram pages for video content with the major league players. Also, check out SandlotRadioNetwork.com website for photos and reels from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. The Sandlot has been presented by Terramar Collective and sponsored by the Sandlot Radio Network, Grit Sports Collective, Guzman E. Gomez, GYG, the best Mexican in Australia, and Freestyle Pools Sydney, pools that withstand the test of time. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
Is this heaven?
It's Iowa. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
looked like that.
Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today.
GYG has just reinvented the Caesar with our new Caesar salad, Caesar burrito, and Caesar Cali burrito. And I bet you didn't know that Caesar was created in Tijuana, Mexico over 100 years ago by Caesar Cardini. And now we have made the Caesar uniquely GYG.
Crunchy Cos lettuce, free-range grilled chicken, or gourmet Caesar dressing, shredded jack cheese, and GYG's corn chips crushed. GYG Caesar, created in Mexico, reinvented by GYG.
When it comes to building your dream pool, experience matters. For 33 years, Freestyle Pools Sydney has delivered quality pools that stand the test of time. Brothers Rob and Ben personally manage every job from start to finish, working closely with skilled, reliable tradies who take pride in their work. With regular industry award-winning builds, the quality of Freestyle Pools truly stands out. Experience, craftsmanship, and service you can trust. Freestyle Pools Sydney, built for life.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.